Cadey and I have just come to the realization that our company is going to cross the threshold from operator to leader on the Billionaire Code, going from that $1 to $3 million level to the $3 to $10 million level, probably in the next few weeks and months. Mm-hmm. And we are having some really intense realizations we want to share with you.
I'm Alex Sharfin, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, then rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few, who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future, and instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be.
So Cadey and I have been working on our business now since July of 2017 is when we reset and started the business we're running today. And in our first year, we did about $250,000 in sales, which isn't bad. We were just figuring things out. And then we very quickly got to the point where we hit about a $2 million run rate. And what's interesting is we just recently hit about a $2.7 million run rate in the last week. And we've done that in a time where we've pulled all of our marketing, all of our exposure, anything that we were paying for got pulled because we analyzed our 5 core functions, which are lead gen, nurture, conversion, delivery, retention, resell, and upsell. And then the last couple of quarters, delivery is where we felt the most challenge. Our clients weren't really feeling it, but we knew we would if we tried to scale. So we spent some time correcting delivery, and now we're going to really press forward. But what's interesting is as we've been working on delivery through just the podcast and referrals, our business has grown significantly. And so we've been, doing what I always tell our clients that we're doing as entrepreneurs in growing businesses is we are changing the engines on a plane when it's in midair. Only in most cases, we're changing out the flight crew and adding more and taking on passengers. And that's one of the hardest balancing acts in the world. And when you go from that 1 to 3 million threshold to 3 to 10, everything changes because you literally go from operating the business to now you must lead and you have to learn. And I think the biggest shift, Cadey and I were just talking about it, is you're going to go from doing to leading. And it's one of the hardest shifts you make. In fact, Cadey, it's funny how in the past couple months, you've been saying things like, I'm having trouble letting go. And I think the reason for both of us that we've been having realizations about man, it feels like I'm just in this massive transition. And I think, here's what's happened is we're now in the now second 6 months of the business. We've gone from the 250,000 mark to now it looks like we're going to hit 2.6. Mm-hmm. And everything is changing again. And it really is this is the shift from operator to leader where you have to let go of so much so fast.
You do. You have to let go of a lot so fast. And then you have to start when I was saying I'm having a hard time letting go, I realized that when I'm holding on too tight is because I'm not feeling really comfortable in my own skills. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so it's okay, I've got to get back to where, I'm focused on myself as a leader. And so, and really instead of talking, asking lots of questions and making sure that I listen and that I hear what the team is saying. And, I'm listening to where the pain points are and I'm understanding the needs of the business.
Yeah, and what's interesting is at the same time, when you say, leaning into my skills, well, I think that instinctively, because over the past few weeks, another theme that you've been talking about a lot is like self-care. I'm going to focus way more on self-care. I'm actually doing the self-care. You're scheduling the time for it. You're making that happen. And I think one of the things that happens is when you go from operating, which is doing everything, to leading people, it's an entirely different level of stress because you feel this energetic extension of the organization past where you're going to know and be talking to everyone. And you really do have to start getting more present, more aware, taking better care of yourself, right?
You do, because when you're not doing those things, you can. We talk about this. You can show up like in a state that's triggered, or you seem anxious, and we always say that the pace of the leader is the pace of the team. And so the reflection, your team is always going to be a reflection of you. And so if you're taking care of yourself, as a primary, I'm making sure that I really prime my week, even more than I always have through our momentum planner and just through our Cadence systems, because I know the more that I show up fully aware and fully able to listen and not be in my head or feel distracted, then the more that we're going to go forward faster.
Yeah, and the other thing that is so much different than this time, so Cadey and I put a company on the Inc. 500 list. We were number 21 fastest growing company in the United States, and then we repeated on the 500 list a second year in a row. We were in the top 500, and then the third year we were in the top 5,000. And we won Best Place to Work in Texas, I think 3-4 years in a row. We won the Fast 50 fastest growing company in Texas in our size range. And then that organization told us we were the fastest growing company in the history of Texas in that size range. So we've ripped the cover off of growth before, and we're doing this time's faster.
This time's a lot faster. It's interesting because I don't feel like it feels as hard.
Well, we have the Cadence now.
We have the Cadence, and we've also, been through this before. And just sitting with you and having that conversation last night that we're about to cross that threshold from operator to leader. It's like it felt so painful the first time, and it doesn't feel as painful. So it was I was like, oh, we're having an actual realization about it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel as painful. To me, it doesn't.
I think that's two things for me. Well, one is I know, you and I have always used a cadence type system in our businesses, all the way back to the beginning, because I've always done it. I can't keep track of things otherwise. And I think that having the cadence has always helped our companies. But now that we've gotten to the point where we've productized it and really taught it over and over again, it's been, it's the driving force behind our products, but it's the driving force behind our company, which is such a cool dynamic to be in. Yeah. Because the more we improve the product, the more we improve the company, because, we use everything we produce.
Absolutely.
We don't share it with our clients unless we're using it. And because we're getting this feedback on a massive scale now from dozens of companies that are growing it's not uncommon for people in our group to double the size of their company every year that they're in the group, or at least every year period.
Every 3 months.
Yeah. And then there's other people who are doubling the company every 3 to 6 months. And I think that the big difference is that when you create an opportunity, the faster you can get a framework in place, the faster you can grow the business. Michael Dell said, show me a framework and a good idea, and I'll show you $1 billion. Or he said, show me a successful framework and a good idea, I'll show you $1 billion company, implying get the framework in place first.
Right.
Trust a structure first. Have a system first, because running a business on how am I feeling today and what have I seen recently and who did I talk to recently, you're not going to make it. You will run into brick walls over and over again and wonder what's wrong. You have to have a system in place for evaluating what's happening in the business.
You do. And this is the most important time to make sure that you're getting the right metrics from every vertical in the business. So your sales, your marketing, your CEO metrics, your minimum monthly spend, all of that is super important, because right now, when you're learning to lead a team, you need to be looking at the data, reacting to the data, but also hearing their feedback and just getting more clear in each of those verticals.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's another thing that happens when you cross over from operator to leader. You have to know that you have people who can start actually taking care of those things for you. Because if you remain meeting with the person who's selling, meeting with the person who is doing the ads, the marketing, the copywriting, the design, you have to start moving people into leadership positions as you ascend, or you will not scale. Because you have to go from doing everything when you start a company to doing less and less as you grow. And so departments have to start being able to be handed off. And so when you're building a business from 1 to 3 million, one of the things you should be doing on that team is looking and saying, I'm bringing people onto this team that could eventually lead people on this team. And it's hard because you don't want to go hire leaders right away, but you want to bring people in that you can develop as leaders, and you want to bring people in who have potential as leaders, or maybe people who are in the price range you're looking for, who have had the experience of leading, because that's a shift you have to make. You can't continue to try and do it all and scale the business. Mathematically, it doesn't work. So one of the things we've done in the past week is we've completely shifted our org chart, completely. And we realized Cadey was managing 6 people directly, and we have to scale. And so we had to move people into leadership positions and move things around. And then we also manage, I realized that I have to take one person direct responsibility right now, and because there needs to be a ton of direct input about how we build the systems, how we build the structure, how we build the processes on the back end of the company, and then have those people help us lead the company. Because if you at this point, when you're going to from 3 to 10 million, you have to immediately start figuring out what are the highest and best use you have for the business, and you can do nothing else. Because time is limited, and what too many entrepreneurs do on the trip from 3 to 10 million is they hold on way too long to everything. And I think we did that a little bit way back when, the first time.
Yeah,
when,
sure.
When we, I remember, that shift feeling like it took forever to where oh, okay, I'm supposed to lead people. I think when we did CDPE, when we were on the Inc. 500, we realized it faster, but I think we held on way too long still.
For sure. I think this time it's felt a little bit different, because I've realized the more tapped out I feel at the end of the week, when I wake up and I feel like I'm going from morning to night without a break, then that's the time where you have to leverage time. You have to get more of your time back. And I was meeting with 6 weekly check-ins a week. And, now with this new structure, we've gotten it down to 2.
Yeah. Gosh, that's another thing that has been such a game changer, is that we've always used a cadence type system, but we've weaponized this sucker. Because in a week, we've been able to completely shift the org chart. We understand exactly what 4 hours need to be updated. Responsibilities are shifting and have shifted. The team's been informed. You and I have shifted what we're doing. We have now bought time back on both of sides of the business where we needed it. Mm-hmm. And we're shifting from doing to leading, and making abrupt shifts in what we're doing. That's in most businesses, that's near impossible without breaking people all over the place. And in a business where you have the cadence, where people are protected by the process, where there's clear communication, where they understand the outcomes, you can shift stuff like this. And is it unsettling? Of course it's unsettling. Don't think that it's not unsettling. It's not, that would be magical, and there is no such thing as magic in business. There's magical moments, and a lot of times we try and figure out where they came from, but there's no such thing as magic in business that keeps going. And so having this process has made it so that when the second we realized, hey, we are not in the right place as far as what we're doing on a weekly basis, mm-hmm. we were able to shift in a speed that we've never been able to in the past.
For sure. Yeah. I think that also, when you talked about the org chart and that people don't like change, a lot of people don't like change. And, when you're, your direct report, who you're directly reporting to, causes, unease and uncertainty. And we used to, back in the real estate training company, it was like people would be in tears over stuff like that.
Yeah.
And today I had all of my weekly check-ins after we made the change. And there were a couple of people that just had kind of logistics questions or, had some feedback, but like, nobody felt accelerated. Nobody felt like everybody understood. They understood why we needed to do it, because I think also entrepreneurs have a, habit of making drastic changes and not really explaining the reason why and why it's critical to the success of the company. And if you look at the Billionaire Code, you can look at that as like, this is the trajectory. This is what the level that we're trying to jump to. And this is why we have to make the change. So I love it as like a reference point, and we didn't have that in the real estate company. We created it for this company and the content.
Yeah. Well, there was a point where we had it, but we didn't explain it now the way that we did it today, like showing the previous org chart, showing the new org chart, explaining each change, telling everyone why strategically it made more sense. And then sharing with everyone, like, this is how so I think we'll close with this. So this is how I ended that conversation this morning with our team. I said, I want everyone to understand this is not the org chart. It's the org chart of the moment. And you just have to know that there's always going to be an org chart of the moment. So don't ever get used to it being the same. Because on the ride from 3 to 10 million, you have to be able to move fast and change quickly and adapt in a heartbeat and take advantage of opportunity. And that, not if it will cause shifts on your org chart, it will absolutely cause tectonic shifts on your org chart. And even if you have an org chart projection plan, if you make it through those thresholds, it's going to change. I've watched way too many entrepreneurs on this journey. We've done it a bunch of times ourselves. And when you go from 3 to 10, it changes everything. So if you're running a business that is scaling from really about $300,000 and up is where our programs start to help you accelerate like crazy, you should reach out to us, because we can share the Cadence system with you, which is one communication system, one strategic planning system, and one system for finding the right people, process, and projects on a continuous basis that will help you grow your business. And here's the key. You don't have to swap it out when you go from 300,000 to $1 million, or $1 million to 3 million, or 3 million to 10 million, or up, because we have businesses, and 30 million to 100. We have businesses right now in the past 18 months that have scaled through those thresholds using this exact process, and you can too. Go to billionairecode.com/apply, billionairecode.com/apply. The Cadence is a system that you will use now and for the rest of the time you run your business, no matter what size it is, because the last thing you want to do when you're flying a plane and changing out people or changing out passengers and crew and the engines is have to swap out the plane's operating system at the same time. When you install the Cadence, it'll get you through all the thresholds that you're looking for to build the business you really want.